Hello and welcome back to Commercial Radio. So we're going to continue where we left off in the previous lecture, and that was the second half of scripting. Okay. So in the previous class we looked at what is and what if of design thinking, and this is all part of buying, selling, and executing airtime. So today we're starting on part 7 of 10 of that. Before we get into today's lesson, which is around what wows and what works, let's just recap what design thinking is. So what is design thinking? Design thinking is about framing a creative product and applying a process to land that product and make it a reality. It's about developing a great radio commercial, and being able to develop such a great radio commercial is a creative process. So what does design thinking entail? It's a problem-solving approach, okay, based on searching for creative solutions. And how do we do that? We do that by looking at designing for growth, the D4G approach. And this specific approach model looks at 4 questions to stimulate and guide the design thinking process, which is firstly, what is? Secondly, what if? Then what wows and what works, okay? So the what is explores the current reality. So what is? What if uses what we learn to envision multiple options for creating a new future. Then what wows, which we're looking at today, makes some choices about where to focus first. And what works takes us into the real world to interact with actual users through small experiments. So the first two, what is and what if, is linked to the scripting part, whereas the what wows and what works part is linked to the production part of design thinking, okay? So scripting is the written copy that a presenter or a voiceover artist will say. This copy needs to tell a story that will engage the listener and that will deliver a strong call to action. And it needs to be good quality audio, okay, to make it sound pleasing and exciting and fit the radio station. The first question that we ask in any design or creative process should always be, what is? Because we need to get an understanding of the problem that the product or the service is trying to solve. And this we do through research and targeting. We engage with users of the product or the service. It might not necessarily be direct users of the product, but users of products that are similar to the product in question. You should ask questions such as, what decisions go into you buying that specific product? Who does the buying of the product? What do you look for when buying that product? When do you buy your products? What is the reason that you buy the specific product? Okay, so all of these types of questions will help you understand who you are scripting for. From here, once you understand the user's needs, the next step is to spend some time trying to understand the brand's needs. In the radio world, a brand's needs are what a business requires in order to strengthen its brand strategy. And to be able to determine what a brand's needs are, you'll ask some questions. So questions like, what are you expecting to achieve with this ad? Could it create awareness? Or should it increase your sales? What are the specific messages that you're trying to drive? What other forms of media advertising are you using as a brand? Are they effective? Are they meeting your targets? Is there a specific tone or a manner that can be used to best describe your brand and its personality? What are the benefits of your product or your service? Why should the listener believe this? What sets your brand and your products or services apart from its competitors? What is its unique selling point? And then what is the single-minded thought or message that you want the listener to hear when hearing your ad? So after you've now done your research, you are done with the what is empathizing phase of the design thinking process, and then we move on to the what is part of the process. And the what is part of the process is the most critical phase of the design thinking approach, because without genuinely understanding your intended or current client and their objective, you will very rarely be able to script an advert that's clear, credible, original, relevant, and authentic to either of these stakeholders. So number 2 then, what if? This is where brainstorming or ideating takes place and is the creative part of the process. So here we're trying to tell a compelling story for the radio commercial by using the data that we've gathered in the first phase. Meaning that here we need to keep in mind the basic principles of great storytelling. And they are the hook, the crumbs, the payoff, and the blackout. The hook being that first 7 seconds, so a first sentence or 2 that helps you hook a listener. The crumbs are many different payoffs to keep the listener interested in the story. And here you should aim for a twist and a turn every segment, 7 seconds or so. Then you get the payoff, which is the reason that the listener is listening, okay? The crux of the story, the climax of the story. It's the laugh, the message, the information they gain from listening to the entire ad. And lastly is the blackout being the simple way of indicating that it's near the end of the advert. So after all the vital information has been provided and the advert has been clearly concluded. There are different types of script formats which can be used here, from announcements, dialogues, vignettes, testimonials, and narrative-based storytelling. Announcements being a one-person voice directly talking to the listener. Dialogue, obviously 2 people, interesting conversation between at least 2 people. Vignette being a brief, evocative description. Keeping the different types of format options in mind helps you brainstorm ideas that can help to solve the problem that your product or your service is facing. And once you've brainstormed the ideas in the format, the advert will start to take shape. Remember a few critical points as part of the checklist for the radio advert, and these are: write so that the listeners can clearly picture your advert. So use visual, active, and stimulating language. Have a definite emotive response in mind. What do you want your listeners to feel? Have a definite call to action. So what do you want your listeners to do? And then realize that the hook is more important than the payoff. Without the hook, you don't have the listener to hear the payoff. Lastly, always remember the what is phase and all the data that you've collected during this phase. Write for the audience, write for this audience, and try to establish strong connections with them. So now your scripting part of this ad is done. So you've done your research. You have your script, you've put your story together. Now we come to producing. So number 3, what wows of the design thinking phase. And again, if you want to follow along, this is on page 397 of Next Level Radio. So the what wows phase in design thinking can also be referred to as the prototyping phase. In this context of creating a radio advert, this is the production phase. This involves putting together the ad and getting it to the client for approval. So you start the production process by finding the correct voice, a voice that fits the needs of the audience and that can articulate the emotion you are looking for, as well as deliver the core message you want to land. There are many talent agencies and online voice databases you can go through to get the correct voice for your script. For instance, there's the Voice Bank, so voicebank.co.za, and this is one of the more popular South African online voice directories and casting facilities that could be of help when you're sourcing a voice. So in South Africa, there are quite a few of these types of voice bank services or voiceover services that you can join. Obviously, there's a lot of these across the world also. Okay, so here we go. You can see what it looks like. Well, here you can see one of them. The Voice Bank's website is down at the moment for some reason. So here's another one. So if we choose a language, we'll choose we'll simply choose English of any genre and we'll start searching. So lots of them, obviously. So here you'll see on the left-hand side, you can choose gender, obviously your language, category. Under category, there's lots of different ones depending on, so whether it's advertising, e-learning, IVR, gaming, video representation, technology, audiobook, audio guide, and podcast. And you can choose the language that you want. Okay, so here you can get an idea of what they sound like. Just listen to a demo.
If you're struggling to hear this commercial, you probably need to turn your radio up. But what if the person next to you can hear it quite clearly? You could be suffering from hearing difficulties. Any Hidden Hearing Centre across the West Midlands can help. They can give you a free hearing test and solve your problems with a discreet hidden hearing aid.
Okay, so you can see that Greg is quite popular. Obviously, he's got a nice deep voice, which a lot of people are looking for. So he's done 50 demos. Then next, there's Mark, who's only done 10. And then there's John, who's done 71. So let's also listen to John's demo.
Christmas has come early to Citroën Aldershot. Buy any new C5 or C3 Aircross or the new C4 Cactus and enjoy a £5,000 scrappage allowance against your old car. No deposit, no problem. The solution is a whopping £5,000 scrappage on cars older than 2013. Offer ends December 31st. Get conditions at Charters Citroën Aldershot.
Okay, so again, that type of voice sounds more friendly, and then this guy's done 83. And then this one, Gail. So Gail here is next. You can see she's done 83 and speaks English US. So this is more of an American accent.
Oh, honey, what's wrong? It's okay, honey. We bought a Fulton home, and there was so much included. The granite countertops you love, the 36-inch maple cabinets that I wanted, ceiling fans in every bedroom. Everything is here in our home. Oh, yeah. Good night, sweetheart. Sweet dreams.
Okay, so that was between 30 and 39.
So my daughter doesn't think Mom is tech savvy, that I can't tweet the grams with the best of them? Well, UW Credit Union makes it easy to manage my finances online and on mobile. Now I can pay bills, monitor transactions, even send money to friends, all from my phone. So what if I occasionally misuse an emoji? I'm banking from anywhere. So the LOL is on her. Hash brown, cool mom.
Okay, so as you can see, most of these have done different ages, different types of languages, different accents, etc., etc. Okay, so this is one of the ones that you can look at. If this is something you want to do, then you can access. If this is something you see yourself perhaps being able to do, becoming a voiceover artist, by all means, contact these companies, making sure that it's a legit one. So try rather using the voice bank one. Okay, so here's another voice bank. This one's got a bit of different languages attached to it also. So again, you can filter by male or female, whether they have a home studio, obviously that's applicable with COVID, ethnicity, age group, and a lot of other stuff, depending on what you want. You'll see, okay, so on here you can start seeing some. Okay, here you can start seeing, here you can see radio presenters that are on here also. So there's Alex J, Bailey Schneider. So all over you'll see different ones depending on what you want. So let's just choose Alex J here. And then you can see what he can do. He can do ages 35 up until 69, according to his style. And here are a couple of his voice clips that you can hear.
A world-class intellect with a solid grip on the economic realities of 21st century South Africa. Julius? Hofmeyr? No. Join Mankwene Moeketsi this Friday as Old Mutual presents Show Me the Money. If you're serious about your financial well-being, be at Old Mutual Square this Friday at 7 p.m. Book now at CompuTicket, before it's nationalized.
Okay, so again, you'll see a lot of the radio presenters are voiceover artists also. So if we just go to the next couple of pages. You can have a look at the names here. I personally know a lot of people who do this for extra money, okay, who are voiceover artists. Let's do one last one. I like the newsreader ones because it gives us a good idea of their voice.
Making headlines this hour, Zuma expected to focus on economic issues, foreigners streaming into the Western Cape, and finally, giant dust cloud chokes West Africa. With your 5 o'clock full news bulletin on UJFM 95.4, good afternoon, I'm Gladys Sitole. President Jacob Zuma is expected to focus mainly on economic issues in his address at tomorrow evening's official opening of Parliament for 2012. Zuma's State of the Nation address will be made against the backdrop of world economic turmoil, vast international debt, and high levels of local unemployment pegged at about 24%. Democratic Alliance parliamentary leader Lindiwe Mazibuko said South Africans wanted to be inspired and excited about their future. Zuma should start by being honest about his government's shortcomings, such as the failure to keep the pledges made in previous State of the Nation addresses. Key broken promises related to, among others, job creation, the training layoff scheme, the youth wage subsidy, creating an enabling environment for growth and jobs, service delivery, health, and corruption.
Okay, I'm just going to stop that one there because we don't need to listen to the whole one. So that gives you an idea, all right, of voices. So if we needed a male voice or a female voice of a certain age range that might sound more funky or upbeat or more serious, you can go to any voice bank and try and find that, okay? So the next step then is to set up studio time and to source a sound engineer. The next step then is to set up studio time and to source a sound engineer. The sound engineer is the executive producer of the advert and is as important to the process as the voice talent. Find a sound engineer who sees the vision for the script and who understands the intended outcomes. Listen to a sound engineer's show reel before you commit to hiring them to produce your advert. Once you're happy with the production quality of their previous work, set up a discussion to take them through your research and data, your vision, and your emotional levers, as well as your script and the vision for the advert. Use this meeting to make sure that you are in alignment with the sound engineer. That's really important. Don't skimp on paying for a great producer and a professional studio. Consumers expect sophistication in radio advertising. Great quality production builds credibility and enhances trust towards your product. Bad quality implies bad products or services in the minds of your listener. So during the recording and production process, allow the engineer and the voice talent the space to execute your aligned vision. That old anecdote of too many cooks spoil the broth rings very true in the studio scenarios. Trust the professionalism of the producer and of the voice talent. Remind yourself to listen to them if they want to offer their input, and provide them with enough freedom and autonomy to be able to work comfortably with your vision. And then you get number 4, what works? Evaluating the effectiveness of a radio commercial. After creating an advert, it's vital to assess whether it was effective or not. Evaluate the final product of the advert through the following lens by answering the following questions. Firstly, does it engage with the target market's self-interests? Second, does the advert amplify the target market's needs or problems? Number 3, does the advert offer and highlight the solution? Number 4, is it capturing the listener's attention? Specifically, does the commercial have an opening that captures listeners' attention? Then, does the advert create visual picture? Radio is actually a very visual medium. This means that listeners convert the sound of your commercial into a mental picture that can inspire and motivate them to act upon your words. Does the story flow naturally and easily? Did you focus on persuading the customers to purchase the product or service? It's important to remember not to lose focus of the main objective of the ad, which is for consumers to purchase the product or the service. Don't get carried away with storytelling. Don't get carried away in the storytelling part or making the advert too creative and neglect the call to action component of the ad. More specifically, is the call to action specified and urgent enough? Is the commercial original? It's important to make the adverts stand apart from competing ads. Try to avoid using cliches within the ad. And then, is there too much copy in the advert? Don't overwhelm the listeners with too much information. A wordy advert will make listeners lose focus as well as their interest. So if any of the answers to this question are no, if any of your answers to any of these questions are no, then you need to rework the script. Then you need to rework the script, the production, or the voice. Don't be afraid to rework, to rewrite, edit, redo, or revise any of the elements to get to your required outcome. Remember that it takes a lot of practice to get it right the first time. So don't expect that. Work at it until it's a winning piece of advertising that's going to deliver on what you promised your client. That's what's important at the end of the day. Okay, so now we're going to go and have a look. So let's quickly have a look at this voice bank, at the voice bank, so you can get an idea of it. Okay, so that wraps up our design thinking. So just again, if we go through these two, so what wows, the third phase is, so what wows, the third phase in design thinking can also be referred to as the prototyping phase, which is the production phase of creating an ad. So here you put your ad together, which you'll send to the client for approval. Okay, so you get a voice, which we just looked at. You get a sound engineer, you get a studio, you get them all in there together. You get them to see your vision. You get them to see your vision of the script and get them to understand your intended outcomes. So they'll put something together, which they'll send to you to listen to. And then you'll get to number 4, which is what works, which is where you evaluate the effectiveness of the ad, okay? Where you see whether it engages with the target market self-interest, whether the ad amplifies the target market's needs or problems, whether it offers and highlights the solution, whether it's capturing the listener's attention, whether it creates a visual picture in your mind, whether the story flows naturally and easily, and whether you persuaded the customer to purchase the product or the service, which is really important, okay? And then, is it original? And is there too much copy in the advert, or does it work? From here, either then, if you said no to anything, then you need to go back to the script or the producer or the voice and either rework, rewrite, edit, redo, or revise any of the elements to get your required outcome. You work at it until it is a winning piece of advertising that's going to deliver on what you promised to your client, okay? So that is design thinking. And that brings us to the end of today's lecture. In our next lecture, which is part 8 of 10 of buying, selling, and executing airtime, we will look at the RIB guide to writing a great copy. Okay? We will look at the RIB guide to writing a great copy. especially now since we know how to put everything together when we have that copy. Now let's just go see how we can write the section and put it in. So that's it for today. Until next time, I say bye.